Welcome to the Tough Luck Podcast. I'm Megan, and there's no Lily here today, so I'm filming in my house. It just makes my experience a little bit more personal to you, and that I'm talking to you as an audience. So hopefully, this doesn't bother you that I'm here sitting in my living room. So we'll go ahead and get started. But today, I want to ask you a question. A question. Do you want to be a healer? And you have some options. You could either say yes, no, maybe, whatever it is that you are feeling right now is totally fine. Even if you're just a little bit curious as to what a healer is, thanks for watching. It's not for everybody. I do know that, but maybe you can get something out of it regardless. So, I have a definition of a spiritual healing. And spiritual healing is systematic and purposeful intervention performed by one or more people to help improve another person, focused on improving their condition. And that's by the Ethiopian Journal of Health Science. And the article is titled Explaining the Process of Spiritual Healing of Critically Ill Patients, a Grounded Theory Study. So, there are so many different avenues to take in terms of being a healer, but there is a couple stages that you have to take, and in fact, 8 stages. 8's my favorite number. So there are 8 stages, in my opinion, to kind of heading towards that direction of becoming a healer. For starters, stage 1 is love yourself. Now, seems very self-explanatory, but not a lot of people have that innate love for themselves, and they think, oh, I really want to be this wonderful healer. However, it is a little bit like sometimes can be overwhelming for people to feel that sense of, oh my gosh, like I want to do this great deed, but I feel like I don't even really know myself or love myself the way I should. So, some suggestions you could take. Now, these are just suggestions. Really, everything I'm saying is a suggestion. But yeah, some of the things that I would suggest would be go to therapy, take care of your body, sleep well, connect with like minded people who will support you, and seek other healers as well. So, if you have this innate wanting or calling to become a healer, you don't have to take necessarily the traditional healing path of becoming an occupation, so to speak, a healing occupation. But if you would like to do so, a couple of options you can take is Reiki, yoga, tarot or oracle reading, massage therapist, teacher, artist, musician, nurse, doctor, friend, retreat healer, herbalist, uh, psychic. There's so many others that I could list, but those are just a few. And now, obviously, a friend wasn't an occupation there, but truly a friend, even though you're not making money off of it, of course, because they're your friend, is a healing path that you could take and is one that not a lot of people know about. But yeah, you can definitely be a friend to someone and also be like kind of a healer to them. As long as it's reciprocal, I think that's what matters there. It's all about that energy exchange there. So if you're feeling like you're one sided in a way and your friend isn't necessarily giving you the same love and respect back, that's not okay. But if it's reciprocal, then you can absolutely be a healer to your friend. Yeah, so anyway, in stage 3, we have receive proper training. And now, not every one of these things on the list requires a training. I know there are people who are like tarot readers or various other occupations that really don't receive much training. But there is a level to it that at least like getting some kind of person who could help guide you towards a healing journey instead of just jumping right in without any prior experience or having seen someone else do it, because ultimately it's a vulnerable place you're putting yourself in, as well as putting another person in. And without proper training, it can be a bit overwhelming for anyone. I mean, when I first started my yoga teacher training, I had no idea that there would be a lot of people who would want that service. And I was noticing it's something I wanted, but a lot of people do. And they trust in you that you know what you're doing and that you're capable of holding space for them, even when it's hard, even when it's not something that you enjoy particularly. So, the next stage in my list here is to find proper space to provide your service. Now, it can be a couple of different ways. I know that most people imagine a physical space to hold their healing energy and healing service, but it doesn't have to be, believe it or not. In 2024, which is the year we're in, it does not have to be anything special. It can be online, it could be on YouTube, it could be over a Discord server, it could be over really anything. I mean, the online community is endless, and you can find easy access healing spaces for your services depending on what you do. I mean, for a massage therapist, I kind of wonder if that's one of those things you just have to do in person. But certainly for yoga, I mean, that's what we're doing with Clairvoyance Yoga. We decided to open a online yoga studio and host our videos online. And yeah, that's a healing service. That's something that we really want to provide for the world and give to others as well. So finding that space to hold your service is crucial to figuring it out. But then again, if you find a physical space really suits you and you love it, great. But then if you want to change and maybe provide online services as well, that's another option. So figure out what works best for you and your service. And stage 5 is to find your demographic. So this is something that I have had a hard time with our business, because really we're figuring out as we go, but it's nice to have a little bit of an understanding of who might be there to witness your services or your healing services. So something to keep in mind is age, perhaps gender, perhaps occupation, location, and interests. And so let's say, for example, if I wanted to do ours, for example, we're probably anywhere from ages 18 to 35, somewhere in that range. And it's primarily women, but we didn't want to limit that. We wanted to offer it for men. It's just we're both women, so it's natural that we would probably attract people similar to us. But of course, that's not going to be the case all the time. And certainly in this sense, it's like it'd be wonderful if any gender decided to come in and use our services. I think that'd be great. So, and then for at least for our demographic, we do have a location, but since it's online, it's really anyone in the entire world that can access it. But I imagine English speaking people would want to witness it unless they wanted to use subtitles. So, and then special interests, we do have more of like the magical, mystical, whimsical vibe happening. So, people who like that kind of thing, maybe a little bit more into the um, woo woo stuff, as they say, would be interested in our business. So, come up with your own version of that and just decide for yourself what people might want your services and want to be a part of your healing services. So, another thing, these demographics may change. So just keep that in mind. It may not stay the same for the entirety of your business. It might evolve into something else. And be okay with that. Be like water. Let it flow. Let it become you in a way. Because ultimately your business in retrospect or service is a little part of you. And they don't always talk about that is when you're sharing these healing services are something that you get to provide other people, but in a way you're sharing part of yourself. You're sharing a gift that you have. And now some people say that you people are given these gifts, but also they can be developed into more of a gift, and it is something that not everybody has available to them. I know that's a little bit controversial too, because I think everybody has the capacity to offer a healing service no matter what, but not everybody has the emotional stability to be able to give someone else a service like this. Really, you really want to be stable in your own self before you really come into this healing space, because you could ultimately spread something. I don't want to say trauma, but you could spread trauma to other people if you're not careful and you're not um, taking care of yourself. Now, that might be something for another podcast I can discuss with Lily, but yeah, just be careful with the energy that you share with others. If you're not in a good headspace, maybe you need a day off. I know that that's something I have to work through as well, is when to take breaks, when to notice, hey, I'm not doing so well. I need this time off because really it's not providing anything to anyone. And that can be hard. And you'll learn over time. And yeah, eventually you'll get there. It doesn't it takes a lot more patience, and with yourself and with other people as well. So just give yourself that grace. Um, so, anyway, heading down to stage 6 is advertise with value provided. So, for here, you want to essentially be able to communicate to people in that demographic you created that you are offering these services and that you can provide these things to other people. And I know that for me, I know a lot of people often have this little they have problems with being on social media because it's almost like a self-promotion thing, but unfortunately it's the world we live in. And it's one of the better ways to advertise. Now, I'm not saying it's the best way. There are other ways of doing so, like creating your own website and then having your own newsletter and things like that. But until you get up to that point, it's hard to get the demographic right away. So, social media is a really great tool to be able to get the people that you would like to see in your business to come along and join your journey. But it's not the only way, because guess what? There's still word of mouth, which is probably the best way, honestly. If you can get people through word of mouth, oftentimes they're more trusting in other people who recommend your service to others. And it's almost like an innate trust, because the person that's recommending your service wouldn't recommend it out of nowhere. It wouldn't be out of the blue. It would be with care and love. Unless if you have friends that aren't the most trusting, which is a topic for another day. But going on to advertisements here. So posting to YouTube, Instagram, there's ads as well. I haven't used them myself, but there are ads that you can pay for if you have like a little bit of extra money. It's probably, I don't know if it's worth it or not, truly. I've never used them myself. But if that's something you want to do, go ahead and do that. And then creating a newsletter on a website, that's a lot, I know. But oftentimes it's nice to be able to have something that people can sign up for your services through, and be able to use that platform to be able to give that service to other people. And then going to events, of course, that's a big one. When you're trying to find like minded people, events are a really powerful thing because they're often a place of gathering people who like the topic that you're discussing or the topic that you're providing, the service you're providing. It helps to have them in a face to face format instead of online because it's it's allowing for some vulnerability to happen. I mean, you're looking right into their eyes. It's a little bit different than if you're to DM them on Instagram. So having an event to go to be able to look customers straight in the eyes and say, "Hey, this is the service I'm providing. Hopefully everything works out. You can come try it out, maybe offering a free trial if it's a membership or having maybe a little tester if it's something that can be provided in like a smaller 5-minute healing session, depending on what it is. And then creating little business cards. Now, this isn't always it's useful, but it's not always the most there's no face-to-face contact, and also they can't really communicate with you unless you have like a QR code to directly have a one-on-one conversation at some point. So, yeah, just some things to keep in mind. There's probably more, by the way. I'm not the expert. This is just what I've done so far in our business. You try you. You do you. You got to figure out what's best for you. Okay. And then stage 7 is give feedback. Get feedback. So there's several different services that you can use, which is SurveyMonkey. You have Google Forums. You have even just a simple piece of paper and asking some questions. And that way, if you can make it anonymous, that's great. If it doesn't end up being anonymous, that's okay too. I know that for me, having a survey has helped tremendously just in my past, just figuring out how did I do in my service and what could I improve on. That's like that's better than gold, in my opinion, because then you can really get into the nitty gritty of, okay, that person really didn't feel comfortable with this, or this person really didn't want this to happen. What can I do to adjust in the future? So just keeping that in mind. I mean, I know that not everybody has the ability to get like initial feedback, especially if you're beginning business like us. But if you have the ability to reach out and say, hey, please fill out this survey. I know this is kind of a beginning stage for us, so we're trying to get basic feedback here. So yeah, just do you. I mean, there's probably other means that I am not suggesting, but yeah, do you. So the final piece of advice I'd give you, stage 8, which is give yourself grace. You're not going to be perfect. And that might be something you've heard 1,000,001 times from everyone around you. You're not going to be perfect. It's just not going to happen. Now, you can work towards getting better, perfecting your craft, especially if you have a mentor, which is a wonderful tool to use. Reach out to your mentor. I mean, there's a lot of different means to help you through your journey. And find people who are also doing the same journey as you. I know not everyone has a buddy. I have a buddy. Her name's Lily. But it's not everybody has a buddy. And I have other buddies too, by the way. But find that buddy of yours. And yeah, honestly, believe in yourself. And believe that you can change lives. Believe that you have the capacity to heal people, to give this world that has so much hurt in it something of value. And even for a 5-minute session whatever it takes, people can change and change for the better and become healed through you maybe over time. I know things don't happen always right away, but that you relieved some pain within them. And yeah, it's not always the easiest journey, but in time I know you can do it, especially if you have the desire to. All right, everyone. Mwah!